In the world of cruising, there's never a dull moment. For today's cruise news, we have a cruise ship employee that had to be medevaced by the Coast Guard due to an emergency, angry guests upset with Royal Caribbean over a policy change, and the CDC is back with a new set of travel warnings. Let's go!
Let's go!
Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Jay and welcome to The Ship Life, the most diverse YouTube channel in the entire world on cruising. If you want your cruise fix, well, you've come to the right place. I also just so happen to be giving away a free round-trip domestic plane ticket or a free cruise depending on my mood at the end of the month. And the only way you're going to know is to subscribe along with hitting that notification bell, which is also free because I'm just going to randomly in one of my videos let you know how you can enter. So, just an idea. You should do it. Subscribe. So at the beginning of the week, the U.S. Coast Guard had to perform an emergency helicopter evacuation, or what's known as a medevac, on a 62-year-old crew member on board Royal Caribbean's Liberty of the Seas. This past Monday on September 13th, the New Orleans Coast Guard received a report stating that a 62-year-old crew member on board Royal Caribbean's Liberty of the Seas was suffering from stroke-like symptoms. Now, at the time, the ship was originally supposed to be heading toward Houston, Texas. However, due to Tropical Storm Nicholas, they had to divert and go over to New Orleans. So that afternoon, the Coast Guard did have to send a helicopter unit over to Liberty of the Seas, which was sitting in the middle of the ocean at the time, and do a medevac. They hoisted the crew member up and took them to the Universal Medical Center over in New Orleans. Now, this crew member is said to be in stable condition currently, and I just want to remind all of you that they said it was stroke-like symptoms, not COVID or flu-like symptoms. So it probably is not COVID, which is good because it seems like these days that's kind of all we hear. Either way, it's a horrible situation. I hope that crew member does pull through this strong, and I hope they are currently doing okay. I also want to remind you guys that even though you may be on a cruise ship, whether you're a passenger or crew, things like this do happen all the time. Now, the passengers themselves may not hear about these things, but trust me, this is kind of something that happens on the regular. Maybe not a helicopter medevac. However, there are always emergencies and crazy things happening on board cruise ships, so just make sure you stay safe and as healthy as possible, whether you're doing a contract or even if you're just sailing the 7 seas as a passenger. So moving on, we got to talk about Royal Caribbean because we have a lot of loyal guests that may not be too happy with the cruise line. Not at all. So as we all know, at the beginning of this pandemic, which was around March 2020 or so, things were a little crazy, weird, and of course there were a lot of cancellations worldwide with cruising, even with Royal Caribbean. So of course we saw a lot of cancellations, which made a lot of people uneasy. And then of course you had the tons and tons of future cruise credit that just started piling in left, right, and center. So in an attempt to alleviate some of the stress from a lot of the customers due to all the crazy cancellations throughout the pandemic, Royal Caribbean did implement something known as the Cruise with Confidence program. This allows you to cancel your sailing up to 48 hours out prior to your actual sailing, which is not a bad deal. They even took it a step further. Once you obtained your future cruise credit, you can schedule your cruise and rebook further out. At the time, it was up until September 30th, 2022. They've now given a 3-month extension and you can schedule a cruise up until December 30th, 2022. Now, just to be clear, guys, there are a lot of details and mumbo jumbo involved with this, like your final payment date and your actual booking date. However, this is just the basics. Now, the extension was due to a lot of people taking forever with Royal Caribbean to receive their actual future cruise credit. You also got to keep in mind, too, that a lot of guests have like 5, 6, 10 cruises that were scheduled between the start of the pandemic, March of 2020, up until this point. Now, the reason a lot of guests are angry is because this extension came a little too late for a lot of them. They've already rebooked their cruise, and maybe a lot of them wanted to rebook after September, which they couldn't at the time. However, this new extension just kind of gives all the other people that still have their future cruise credit the leeway to do so. Because at this point in time, whenever people are rebooking their cruise, unfortunately for a lot of them, depending on the time of their sailing, depending on what itineraries they wanted, a lot of the things that they originally booked for just simply weren't available. So you can see where the frustration is. They booked that cruise that they actually booked that got canceled for a reason. They liked the itinerary, where they were going, the date, all the details that are involved with that. So you can see where the frustration is. Now, I will leave off by saying this. Personally, I don't like dealing with future cruise credit whatsoever. Now, given, I also am kind of one of those last minute bookers, right? I book my cruises sometimes 2 weeks or even up to a week out, which I know a lot of people are going to say is bad practice because you aren't paying the best overall price. You're not getting any discounts or anything like that. However, I personally just don't like dealing with any of those types of situations. Now, I do have cruises that are booked maybe like a year out, but these are for like special occasions, like an inaugural sailing or something like that. That's just kind of my personal style. I don't like dealing with future cruise credits and refunds because it can be a hassle, and this pandemic has proven that. I've seen from travel agents to passengers that have been dealing with too much. It's just too much. I can't do it. But let me know how you feel about it in the comment section below. Finally, we do have an update from the almighty CDC. They're back with a travel warning for 3 popular cruise destinations, putting them at level 4 as far as the travel warning, which is the highest level possible for anybody to be traveling to these destinations. So on the CDC's travel advisory list, we now have St. Kitts, Belize, and even Grenada. This is all due to the rise in COVID cases over in those areas, and of course the spread of the variant viruses as well. Now, this new set of travel warnings is bad news for St. Kitts in particular, due to the fact that they just welcomed back cruise tourism yesterday with the Celebrity Equinox being the first cruise ship to finally return to the Eastern Caribbean port. Now, also, these travel advisories are a little weird, and a lot of people are wondering as far as how this actually happens. How do these places and these destinations and islands get put on these lists in the first place? Well, according to the CDC, every 28 days they do a little cycle. If a population has more than 100,000 people there, they check and see if there's been more than 500 cases. If there's been more than 500 cases, well, they get bumped up on the travel warning list. This has happened to Jamaica this past month on the 7th, and it's also happened to 14 other Caribbean ports and islands throughout the pandemic. And unfortunately, it will probably continue as time goes on and as cruising tourism starts to actually return to places like the Caribbean from the United States. Now, just to conclude today's video, I will briefly put on my tinfoil hat here, because a lot of people are saying that when it comes to the CDC, they are strategically trying to shut down the industry by offering all these little travel warnings and whatnot that only appeal towards cruising, since cruising did start back up, and we all know that the CDC isn't exactly for cruising at this point in time. Now, are they right, the people that are saying this? Maybe. You honestly never know. I do believe at the end of the day, even though these organizations might mean well, they're also still regular people that are in charge of all these organizations. And I say this stuff all the time. There are people there that could be normal people. There are people there with personal intent. They want personal gain out of the situation. It could be very political, like we've seen with this pandemic that has unfortunately become very political. But anyway, guys, I don't want to dive too deep into the rabbit hole. I'm going to leave it right here. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Just try to keep it somewhat civil. That's all I ask. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Oh, and of course, if you want to book a cruise, because regardless of the situation right now and all the craziness and travel advisories, cruising's still happening. So make sure you check out our travel partner with our YouTube channel, Kimberly Sunset by the Sea. She will take care of your cruise and make sure you get booked without all the hassle. The link will be in the description box below. Thanks for watching today's episode of Cruise News. I hope you're all doing well. I'll see you soon. Take it easy, guys.